Hello, welcome to another video from Betfair trading community. Okay, so today I was looking at my over 3.5 goals strategy, and it's very basic. I'll show you it even here. And we're just looking for games that show 40% over 3.5 goals from their last 10 games, over 3.5 odds 2.7 or above. It basically is a very simple way of trying to extract some value by going, well, if you have over 3.5 40% of the time, your odds should be shorter than 2.7. And in this case, that's good. We're going to see matches where the odds are higher than that, and also most likely where the over 3.5 percentage is higher than that. We're going to click save. Now, what a lot of people ask me, and what I really want to get through, why I'm doing so many of these lives for you guys, what I want to get through is this phase of once you've got a short list of matches, and there's some really interesting matches for trading here today, despite the fact it's an international break, and you know how I feel about those. If you've watched a lot of my videos, I hate them. I loathe the fact there's not loads of league football for me to trade today. I'm not a massive fan of trading international football. Not that I don't ever do it, but just not a massive fan. Much prefer league football, much more data. As you know, everything I do is data driven, and there's matches that interest me today, so I'm going to go through. We're going to find a good example of what we're going to trade today. I'm going to show you how to take that next step from having a short list of selections that could be solid to actually solidifying it and finding the standout selections from that short list. So the match that stood out to me straight away here is Fleetwood Swindon. Okay, one of the reasons being there's going to be some money in this market. It's not going to be great. It's an international break. There's not going to be a ton of liquidity in these matches. Not a massive problem for what I want to do, and I'll show you why in a bit. But it is something to be aware of because we are going to be trading in play, and if you're trading in play, obviously you do want to be able to trade out. Now, you would expect more money as the day goes on. It's still, well, you can see here, it's still 10 in the morning, so we're a few hours away from kickoff yet. But I want to show you what interests me in these Fleetwood Swindon stats. So obviously this filter is set up for over 3.5 goals, and you can see 43% of the time they have that. Okay, great. And the odds are fairly high. The last price match was 3.1 on here. The odds to back at the moment, let's get the market up here, are 3.05, so very close to that. Now, that price in itself, it's not amazing. Now, there might be some marginal value here. Yes, if they strike 43% of the time, this should be a good value trade. But it's not one that sticks out like a sore thumb to me. You know, at the end of the day, out of the 14 matches played, they've still only had 6 end over 3.5 goals. So it's not happening, you know, over and over again as much as I'd quite like in that situation. So I was kind of thinking, is this one I want to trade? It's a bit more marginal than I'd like. Then something stood out to me. I had a look at the over 0.5, and I noticed that they've not had a first half goal, okay, in these 7 games each. And you go, well, that's interesting. So they've not had a first half goal. They obviously score a fair amount of first half goals, but then I looked and I thought, actually, they score more first half goals. They score more in the first half than they do in the second half. So here, 14 out of 14 times they've had a first half goal, but only 9 out of 14 a second half goal. Well, if I'm going for over 3.5, I want teams that are going to be banging them in the second half as well. But this did interest me, so I thought I need to look at this a little bit further. So I had a quick look at goal times, and you can see here that actually, and if we put percentages up, they score a lot of goals between the 0 and 20 minute mark, and a fair amount 20 under 30, and look, a huge amount between 31 and 45. Okay, so a good portion of their total goals are scored in the first half, and it's straight from kickoff. This isn't one where you're going to sit and go, well, I'll wait till 20 minutes, because you're going to miss 30% of the chance of the goals being scored. Now, this isn't reflective. It doesn't mean that in the next match they're going to score in that time period, but what it means is that there's a good chance they will, and there's probably a chance that's better than the odds you're going to get, and we'll get into that in a minute. So the first thing you start thinking here is, well, first half goal looks a really good play here. And then obviously you can go and have a look at those odds. And the first half goal odds are 1.38. So around 1.4. You go, okay, that's pretty good. But you're going to be getting in at kickoff. You know, if it does end 0-0 at halftime, there's not really a trade out scenario here. So it's not something, it's something you have to go pretty heavy on if you want to take it. I don't mind that. There's probably enough value there if you can get 1.4 for me. But I know a lot of people aren't going to like that play. And the fact is, you're not going to win every single time. That's just the reality of trading. So, you've got to think you're going to have to win 2.5 times for every one you lose, which, overall, when you've got a good first half goal strategy, isn't mega difficult, to be honest. But obviously, let's try and get something a bit tasty if we can. Because there's something else I spotted. And again, this is what I want you to do. I want you to look at these selections. This took me overall about 5 minutes to do. Right? Probably not even that much to spot this stuff. If you could do this in a couple of minutes on each match, even when you've got 7 selections here, let's say you took half an hour for those 7 selections, and it was about 5 minutes each, 4 or 5 minutes each. Well, is that the end of the world? If you end up finding good trades, is it not worth taking a little bit of time to narrow down this shortlist? Because remember, this shortlist's already been narrowed from the 70-odd league matches that are going on today, despite that annoying international break that are being traded on Betfair. So I found something else, and I'm going to show you this, and this is what the kind of thing I want you to look for. So we know that half one has more goals, but what about halftime scores? Because if we're going to be looking at that first half market, this is definitely one I want to look at. And then I looked and I saw, hang on, 14% are 1-0, 14% are 0-1. But that means only 28% of matches are having less than 2 goals in the first half. That's low, right? That's really low compared to normal, okay? So I'm thinking, wow, this is saying that 70% plus of matches are having 2 or more first half goals. And if we go to the overs unders and then we put the percentages in, you can actually see that in the half one here, where my mouse is, 71% of the games are having over 1.5 goals in the first half. 71%. Okay, that is a standout stat. Doesn't mean it's going to happen on this occasion, but what it does tell you is this is almost certainly a value play. Variance might bite us on the backside, but hopefully not. Now you go to the match here, Fleetwood, Swindon, and we see the odds are 2.8. Now the liquidity, you can lay it at 1.55 as well, or you can back at 2.8. So very simply, this is good value. Okay, so we're just going to take 2.8 here. Someone else wants 2.82 now, so we're just going to take that price. I think that's fine here. And yeah, we're in a situation now where we obviously want them to get an early goal. That's why you make a bet like this. And we'll see what happens in the first half. We'll come back for the kickoff, which, to be fair, is still a long way off. I wanted to get this. I like to get my trades on early in the morning. Especially if they're set and forget. You're getting in early. As long as you think you're getting good value. Again, you could try and argue over the price, but you might get a situation here where the odds do come in. If people start researching this stat, they're going to realise these odds are too big. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen every time. And this is what you have to be careful about, yeah? It's all about value with trading. You're getting a standout stat that you think works well. Reality is this might not happen. But you know how it is on Betfair Trading Community? We'll film our trades. Whatever happens, you will see the result of this trade, as you know, as you can hear me talking, and we'll go through this whole process live. And we'll be back later for the match kickoff and see how we get on. Okay, so we got the goal in the first half as we thought. I mean, maybe you look at this now and you think, just go for the first half goal. But the stats are telling us that there's still a good chance we will get a second goal in this half. Now, we don't really have a spot here. Because the goal came at 30 minutes, you could take a small profit now. I wouldn't have an issue with you doing that particularly, but, if you're going to make 50 pence per £10 traded, it's going to take you a while, isn't it, to make decent profit. So, in terms of my position here, I think you're basically in the trade now. And this is something you have to think about, because in this spot, yeah, you can basically trade for scratch, or you can let it run and hope that there's still another goal. Now, because the stats are telling us that there might be another goal, still a good chance of it, at this point, I think it's worth staying in. Sometimes the market, the time of the goal and the market will tell you when to enter and exit. This is telling us you can't exit. We didn't make this trade to get a scratch. We thought there'd be first half goals. There's already been one. So in terms of position, effectively, we're about where we thought we'd be. Now it's just a case of, can they get another goal before half time? And that is the thing. I think often that is the thing with first half goal trading. Even when you're going for 2 first half goals like this, you're often in a position where it's going to be an all or nothing situation. So that's what you have to think about as a trader. Are you comfortable knowing, well, here my stake is on the line? I'm relying on a lot of data that says this is a value bet, a value trade. Yeah, sure. I'd love the goal to go in 5-10 minutes in. And in that spot, I think it's quite an easy cash out for a decent profit. But when it's this time in the half, it's kind of an in-between marginal situation where you could trade out and you can let it run. But you also know that obviously letting it run, you could lose your stake. As ever, we'll see the trade through either way. And I think this is quite a good example to show you of a trade where you're in a situation where the answer is pretty obvious about what you have to do. And you have to decide with a strategy like this, is it something that suits your style of trading? Because some people hate the thought of leaving their stake in. And if you do, yeah, sure, you could have taken a small profit. But I just think value-wise, really, this is the kind of thing where you're going to stay in. And you can stake accordingly. We got well above evens on this trade. And so you don't have to go in heavy to make a decent amount of money when it does win. And obviously, if you're not going in too heavy, if you are losing your stake, it's not going to be a massive stake. So that's just something to consider as a Betfair trader. I'll come back at halftime, or if there's another goal, and we'll see how we get on. Beautiful. God, I love this game. I mean, the thing is, right, you find essentially what was huge value earlier in the day. You don't know for sure that your trade's going to win. But you get odds of 2.8 on something that's happening around 70% of the time so far this season with these teams. And I wonder, how many of you guys are looking for these trade points or these stats that are so far out with the current odds being given? And then, because I feel like with those, you can really do well. Because this was such an obvious value trade. This was such good value. We spotted it. Actually spotted it using a different strategy, funny enough, because I was looking for a good match for over 3.5 goals, which obviously this would have been pretty solid for over 3.5 as well. I mean, remember the over 3.5 odds were, what were they, around 2-1, weren't they? And now they're trading at even. So again, you could have made a good trade there. But what we did was we dug a little bit deeper into the stats and we saw, hang on, these guys score a lot of first half goals. In fact, they score 2 first half goals 70% of the time. So do you see how sometimes you get these glaring stats, glaringly obvious value, and in this position, if you're going to back over 1.5 goals in the first half, I mean, I think you're going to find it difficult to get value like this every single time. But the point is, there is value like this out there. Okay, and it's worth searching out because the reward can be great. And again, odds of 2.8, even for a £10 stake there, we've just made after commission £17.64 profit, around something like that. So that's pretty solid, right? That's a pretty solid return for a trade that we knew was value. Now, I hope that when I do these live videos, these live trading videos, you guys are seeing the value. You're able to spot it. You can understand kind of the psychology and my reasoning behind it. If you're someone who kind of wants to learn to train and trade as a good Betfair trader, head over to betfairtradingcommunity.com. Not only can we get you set up with a trading strategy, but obviously we will help train you as a Betfair trader. We've actually got 10 strategies as well that we give away absolutely free. You don't have to be a member for those. Just say the word 10 in the comments and I will send those over to you. But yeah, I mean, this is what I like about strategies. You know, we got the shortlist. We looked at the over 3.5 goals and we got the shortlist and we saw, hang on, Fleetwood, Swindon. We know this should be good for over 3.5 goals, but there was a better market here. We went for the halftime scores and we saw, hang on, only 28% of them have 1 goal or less. None of them are 0-0. So we know we're going to get that first half goal. There's a good chance we can trade out for a green with an early goal. In fact, I wouldn't have been surprised if there was an early goal, because we looked at the, sorry, not the score conceded. We looked at the goal times and we could see, yeah, they score a lot, don't they, in that 18 to 20 to 12 period. But here, they scored in the 30th minute and the 45th minute. Well, it's interesting that 31 to 45, which is just 30th would technically count as this slot, but it's almost in this slot. 16% of their goals scored in that time. So we also knew that was a time frame a lot of goals could go in. The fortunate thing with this trade for us was that it didn't give us an option, really, because once the first goal went in, the odds were around where they were at the start of the match. We could have taken a tiny profit, but there would have been no point. And again, if you believe your trade was value at the start of the match and you get a goal around the time you need a goal, I just feel like you let that run, because I think that's still a value trade to you. And there's nothing that tells you in that situation it isn't. Now, one thing you can do is you can go and look at the in-play stats. You can use that to kind of buoy yourself up, maybe feel better about it. I do put more weight on the pre-match stats, and you'll see why. That's why I use a tool like Betfair Trading Community's football software, because you can spot things like this really easily, as we did on this match. And like I say, you can be looking at a different market and go, hang on, I've just spotted something really strong here. And that's what I love about this, because I got this short list of games that could be good for over 3.5 goals. And then I further refined it. And a lot of people ask me how I do that. So that's what I really want you guys to plug into here. Because this isn't a video about me going, oh, here's a trade that I did really well on, right? It's a video of going, right, let's live trade this. I've spotted some stats. I mean, I think I started this video, like 10 a.m. this morning. I spotted a stat that was value. We wrote it. We waited till kickoff. We traded it. When the goal went in, we didn't really have an option. It's either take scratch or or just let it run. I was happy to let it run because I still thought it was good value, and we got the goal before the end of the half. Happy days. Relatively easy profit, and a nice profit, a solid profit compared to stake. And I think these are the kinds of spots. If you can start to spot this stuff, that is what separates the men from the boys, the women from the girls in Betfair trading. And that is something I think that can really help you as a trader. If you enjoyed the video, guys, just say the word, let's say the word over 1.5, and that will let me know that you like this video and you want me to do more of these. I know that you guys are enjoying the live trading videos. I've been sending a few of them out to people as well for training, because I feel like if you want to learn to train as a Betfair trader and you want to get inside the psychology of someone who does well on Betfair, then these are the kinds of videos you should be watching, because you really do get the behind the scenes. As you can probably tell, there's no script, right? But that's intentional, because everything I do, I want you to see the honest reaction and reality of the Betfair trading, the actual what happens, the decisions you have to make live, and what goes through your head, or what should be going through your head when you're making those decisions. That's really key as to whether you'll be a profitable Betfair trader. Anyway, over 1.5 goals in the first half. Have you looked at the market? Have you traded it? Do you like it? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to the videos, please do. The reason I'm sending out videos when people email me is because they haven't seen them. And I'm like, just subscribe on YouTube and it will come in your feed. You will see the videos, and that will be absolutely brilliant for you, because you will get this information that you need. And you don't want to miss out on that, do you? Because I don't want to miss out on a trade like this, and I'm sure you don't either. All right, everyone. Hope you have a great time. Hope you have a great week. And I will be back very soon with another training video from Betfair. All right, guys. All the best.